all morning in Port Orchard.
Yeah, and ask anyone from that part of Kitsap County about their most famous neighbor, and they likely have a story about New York Times best-selling author Debbie Macomber.
So Travis is there live this morning, and Travis, you grew up in Port Orchard. You went to school with the Macomber kids, and Debbie agreed to sit down with you for a rare TV interview here.
I was so lucky and so thrilled when Debbie said yes to my request to do an interview because, I was turning around just asking some of these folks, hey, do you know Debbie? And favorite author. So many folks here say absolutely. I grew up and you'd walk by her books in the bookstore or, at the grocery store. She's been writing bestsellers for almost 4 decades. But here's a secret. Did you know that she almost wasn't a published author? Because an editor once told her before she got published, throw your manuscript away.
We have a magazine now that we're doing. It's called Welcome Home.
Oh, cool.
And I decided to be like Oprah and be on the cover of every issue.
I'm glad, because you should be on every issue. Before the magazine covers.
And my mom said that when the librarian gave me the book, I took hold of it with both of my hands and put it right next to my heart.
Before the kids' books.
When I was in the 3rd grade, the teacher told my mom at a parent-teacher conference, Debbie's a nice little girl, but she's never going to do well.
Before the jigsaw puzzles.
I'm dyslexic. I didn't learn to read until I was in the 5th grade.
Before 36 years of bestsellers.
The dream of writing books pounded in me. The only way I can think to describe it is if you cut yourself, it'll throb with pain. But when I thought about writing books, I throbbed with joy.
The throbbing beat into her 20s. She was married with a young family, tapping out her dream on a rented manual typewriter.
We couldn't afford the rental fee on an electric because we were a 1-income family and I was home with the 4 kids.
Writing 4 books.
Oh, I finished 1 book, went out the door, started on the next one, out the door, started on the next one, out the door.
5 years passed filled with rejection and humiliation from editors.
I'll never forget this pitying look that came in. She leaned forward, she put her hand on my arm, looked me straight in the eye and said, throw it away.
Then another author's kind word.
Don't leave a rejected manuscript on your desk. It has a home. Your job is to find it.
A new publisher.
I loaded the kids up in the station wagon. I took them to the post office. We mailed off that manuscript. I got home. Ted went down to get the mail and he said, Mom, that letter you've been waiting for is here. I stood right in the middle of the street, tore open the envelope, and it said, do not mail us your manuscript. We're not buying.
Debbie collapsed.
I went in the house, I laid down on the sofa. I didn't move. I've never been that depressed. Well, that was before I had teenagers. So, 3 weeks later, New York called and bought the book. If I had waited a half hour, I would never have mailed it off. God's hand.
They bought all 4 books. 1 shot to the top of the bestsellers list.
But I know if I had quit being a writer, I would have lost a piece of my soul.
And then a true storytelling twist. Remember that visit to the library back in childhood?
The librarian who handed me that book was Beverly Clary.
A sign, a gift, a lifeline from one future writer to another.
The stories were always good. The writing, I was very immature. I had to learn to be the writer.
So we are here at the Coffee Oasis on Bay Street in downtown Port Orchard, and honestly, it feels like it could be in a Debbie Macomber book, because she set 2 of her series right here in Port Orchard. She calls it Cedar Cove in her fiction, but really it is Port Orchard, and it feels like home because it's such a special small town. It's one of those places where you just constantly run into people you know. I grew up here, and all morning we've been here at the coffee shop meeting people. I've run into so many people that I know, and in fact, there's some really special people who I know who just came in. They're right here. This is my mom and my dad,
Hey!
who moved to Port Orchard when I was starting 8th grade.
12.
I was how old?
12.
So that's what it's like to be in a small town. People are always asking me, Dad, how are you doing? So Dad, you went back to work. How are you doing?
I'm fine, yeah.
A man of very few words. I'm the performer in the family, but this is Kent and Kathy Mayfield, my parents, and that's how a small town works. You just run into your mom and dad at the coffee shop. Guys, back to you.
Well, on behalf of your other family here and all of our viewers, we're really glad to see your folks and especially your dad doing so well. We know that your family had a little bit of a scare last year, and really good to see him out and about.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I will pass that along to my dad and my mom. And it's so exciting to be out here in Port Orchard. If you'd like to stop by this location of Coffee Oasis, I'm here until 11. I'd love to take a selfie. I would love to sign an autograph. Come by, have a cup of coffee, and say hello to me or to the real hero, my dad or my mom.
Right. Awesome. Travis, thank you so much. You know, it's funny, Liz and I were out at the